It's 12 o'clock.
And everything, but they added.
We're going to start our study session now. I've been informed by the city clerk that there is no Commissioner Deeds, correct? Or there's going to be?
This time.
Okay, this time. Okay, Councilor Caldwell.
Thank you, Councilor Hogan. Blessings to all. All right, Commissioner. So, Commissioner, just to make things a little clarity as you come up, because we have a lot of items on the agenda, 1 through 29 through 27. Could you just, as we go through them, just say, you know, these are reoccurring, this is something that we've done every year? Because I see something, so it just goes through.
Okay.
Okay?
Good
Item
afternoon.
9, let's go.
Good afternoon, councilors. I'm Tony Williams, Commissioner of Parks. Item number 9 is a recurring item. It's an agreement for our weekly parks programming. This is for lacrosse, weekly sports clinics, not to exceed $3,000.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 10 and item number 12. These are both holds.
You said, say that again, it's a what?
Item number 10 and item number 11, we are both holding over.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Just until Greg come back,
okay,
so we can talk about it.
okay. Item,
Enough of that, Mr. Maroon.
So, which item are you guys?
so you want, Commissioner wants you to talk about just 12 to briefly explain to
Okay,
us about
Henry Hen House. They will provide our carnival treats for about 180 participants in our 7 programs throughout the summer. They'll provide popcorn, cotton candy, ice cream for all 170 participants. Okay. Bruce Mobile Skating is a recurring event that we have. He brings the skates to us for all of our youth to be able to engage in a skating activity. They bring the music, they bring the supervisory staff, everything else to go along with that. DJ Tate Bug, she's a local kid who's come through the Parks and Rec department. Went on, got her degree, came back to give back, become an aspiring DJ in the neighborhood. So what better way to reward her with allowing her to come back and give back to the community and our kids. And Cooperative Play Day. Cooperative Play Day is a day where youth can come and engage in fun activity without the competition aspect of it. There will be roller skating, there will be swimming, there will be arts and crafts. There'll be a lot of things that you will do in our outdoor activity and recreation. Outside of that, this year is going to be a little unique this year because we're doing a little collaboration this year with the state parks. So we're calling this Salt City and State Games this year. So we'll include a triathlon, 50-meter dash, and a water balloon toss competition for the kids to actually engage in outside of the events that will be happening at the state parks on July 31st. Well, you guys will get invites. They're coming soon. Yeah.
I was going to say,
I
when
want
you
to be,
say,
I got a couple water balloons I want to hit people with.
no, I was going to say,
So-
when you say youth, you mean 8 to 80, right?
Huh?
When you
8
say
to
youth,
80.
you mean 8 to 80?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, close to that, around that. So yeah, so July 31st will be our state games. Will be out at Green Lake State Park, where our youth will be going out there and engaging in a variety of different activities, orienteering. They'll be doing archery, kayaking. There's a lot of events. I have about 7 different events that'll be happening out there. That I'm gonna invite you guys. I'll give you guys some more information on that. As the days come closer, outside of that, then the following day will be Cooperative Play Day, interviews with our Salt City and State Games, which I mentioned about the triathlon and things of that nature.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Ms. Howard. Commissioner, 16.
Thanks, Jason. Items number 15 through 25. These are forestry capital items from the Parks Department capital plan, and I have our city arborist, Steve Harris, here to speak on those items.
Good afternoon, everyone. Steve Harris, City Arborist. Item 15 is a new line that is overseen by both forestry and facilities planning. And the purpose of this line actually Clerk McBride, I'd like to give you new language for this. This isn't quite the right language. The purpose of this is to do any site improvements along the creek that are needed to improve access or improve public safety, such as better lighting, remove and replace vegetation with a new type of vegetation. It's not a vegetation management line, but to improve visibility and create permanent change to the landscape. Any questions on that?
So it's not purchase trees and.
No, that appears to be a duplicate with item 16.
Okay.
And I'll email the correct language to you.
Okay.
I know once it says the word tree, it all
right.
sounds alike.
To me, it do.
Item 16 is a recurring, long time, recurring since the Labor Day storm. Excuse me, that we use for grant match for purchasing trees and planting materials and for helping us complete street tree inventories, which we are about to begin our fifth one.
Steve, I have a question, and
Yeah.
it's not a trick question, and I'm not trying to put you. I just thought about something. So that we're planting new trees and beautifying our neighborhood, and the more we talk, I learn how important trees are. Do we have any funding put together for some of the older trees that are lifting the sidewalks off to remove them, and then maybe plant new trees that won't grow into like the sidewalks? Have we thought about that?
That is
Well, that's part of
item
an
24 and 25.
Oh, okay. I didn't put you. Okay, go ahead then.
So we can go to item 24 and 25.
Okay, yeah.
And that is our tree pit improvement project. And we use that in a variety of ways. We partner with DPW when they're doing their sidewalk replacements. And when we're removing trees, when we have to remove trees, and we intend to put trees back under the sidewalk, we're putting what we're calling tree tunnels, which is basically 2 feet of stone that roots can grow through, and roots can grow deeper.
So how's that cooperative working arrangement going between sidewalks and trees?
We're figuring it out. It's not easy. They're in direct conflict. One's living infrastructure, one is hardscape, and we're getting there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Absolutely.
So it's the goal to preserve a tree as much as possible, right? Before we, if it is messing up a sidewalk, it's the goal to make sure you think through and say, okay, instead of removing it being the first option, you want to try to preserve that tree, right?
We do if the root loss isn't too much.
Yes.
If we remove too many roots, then we got to remove the tree.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Where we
Okay,
at?
so
17?
then items 17
Yes.
and 18 is item 17 is cash capital to be allocated for natural areas capital improvements. We're continuing to do work on phase 2 Onondaga Creek, West Onondaga to the Hunt Ave parking lot. And we're still doing Schiller Park improvements through DASNY grant, and we use those dollars to help make those improvements long-lasting.
19.
18 and 19 are the same. These are bonded dollars for capital improvement to Creek Walk North. So that would be from West Genesee all the way to the lake. We want to use that money to put out to bid vegetation clearing, vegetation removal and replacement, and related management activities.
Steve, this might be more for the commissioner, but what's our cleaning schedule for the Creek Walk as far as litter and trash goes?
I will defer to the commissioner for that.
I don't know about my colleagues, but we're getting calls that it looks pretty rough over there. I've been over there twice in the last week, and there's a lot of trash.
I got that email as well, and
What email?
we do. There was an email that came in recently
I forwarded an email
that
okay,
to him.
Councilor Hogan forwarded to me. Thank you, Councilor, for making me aware of that. As you know, Councilor, we do have a Creek Walk team, and I am working with them right now to make sure that we reach out to that constituent that emailed and also, increase our efforts in that area.
Okay.
As you know, we just acquired the Creek Walk not too long ago, the city of Syracuse. So we could do better on, our management efforts, and we're working towards that direction.
And we want to make sure you have enough resources to address that, since there'll be obviously down the road, the Inner Harbor is going to be one of those neighborhoods that are going to show significant growth. So,
Absolutely, but we have an amazing trails coordinator. She's got a great background and she's passionate, and her and her team they'll make it work.
but
It's
if,
just,
let
it's a
us
lot
know
of
if you
area
have
to cover.
resources.
Oh, it's a lot.
And especially if there's safety concerns there too, because it's dark in spots and there's just, we have a housing crisis. People are unhoused, and it seems like that's becoming a problem over there.
Yeah, I'm thankful to Councilor Hogan for forwarding me that email from that downtown resident, because I'm looking forward to talking to her to, gain more feedback so we can make those changes. Steve, were you done?
Almost there.
Sorry, Steve, I sidetracked you.
It's all right. So that's the deal with 18 and 19.
Item 20.
Creek Walk North improvements. Items 2021 is recurring in that it's capital funds, but new in that this is bonded dollars. A portion of the bonded dollars that we asked for capital improvements, and we want to apply that to rehabilitation of Pass Arboretum, which we want to do in-house with our forestry and planning team. Since we have 2 landscape architects on staff, we're going to come up with improvements and roll that out to the public as soon as we can, with changes to happen by November next year. Item 22 and 23 is our classic recurring tree planting program. Plant trees. We will also be coming to you to approve an agreement in the future for more money to do that in our low-income neighborhoods through Central New York Regional Planning Board. And then 24 and 25 we just covered.
Yes, thank you.
Steve, did we take a lot of damage over the past couple days
Yes,
and weeks?
last night our crews worked until 8 o'clock dealing with 18 calls, and they're running wild today, continuing to get more calls, limbs or trees in the road across the walk. And we had to deploy our contractors last night, but we were very lucky. Our Labor Day storm was 20 miles north of us and hit Rome instead, so we dodged a bullet there.
Thank you, Steve.
Good. If I could just, Steve, on 15, 16, 17, I noticed that's unallocated cash capital. I commend you on, is this taken from one line just to finding out that we can address a need on another line? Is that how it worked?
Rephrase that question?
Well, I said, like, you're addressing creek walk vegetation, urban forest restoration, but you're using that unallocated cash capital. So that was obviously left over from another project, or?
No.
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 Was it always going to be?
All new. No, the 3 lines will be used in distinctly different ways
Okay.
and are not from previously.
I'm just wondering where the cash capital came from. It says it's unallocated. It was originally.
I don't know.
It's just basically, we don't have an account, it's just unallocated cash. Joe, you want to explain, or don't want to explain? It's just, yeah.
Okay, but it hadn't been allocated previously.
Account haven't been.
To be allocated. Okay. That's all.
Anything else? Thank you.
Commissioners, items 26 and 27.
Item 26 is a purchase of Peaceful Pets. This is for cremation services for SPD for their cruelty cases when they need such a service. Item 26 and 27 are contracts that are ran through SPD but are housed in parks. Item number 27 is, this is also recurring. This is for Veterinary Emergency Services, VMC. This is used as an as-needed basis by SPD. Any questions on those two, councilors?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Councilor Caldwell, Councilor Majok.
Thank you very much. I have item 28 to 34.
Good afternoon, Councilor Rick Kisselstein, Executive Deputy Chief of Fire. I've got 3 items. Item number 28 is to receive a donation from Abundant Life Church for reimbursement of smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors that they helped us put up in residence homes.
Now, thank you for this, and thank to Abundant Life for this as well. Every year we ask you about alarm and smoke detective alarm and all of that. As with recurring fire, is the demand going up or is it pretty much?
It's steady. I don't know if it's gone up really much, but it's been steady. We've got plenty of requests.
Okay. And you've got enough supplies to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We're continually filling that back up. Yep.
Okay. Any questions? All right.
Item number 29, this is for an agreement with Multimed. This is a service we're using to do our billing for the ambulance service. We've used them for the past few years, and this is to extend those contracts out.
Any questions? Okay.
Item number 30 is to apply and receive a grant from the Hartford Insurance for $10,000 to be put towards fire safety education. We'll use this to do various presentations and to buy the hats and placemats and oven gloves and stuff like that that we hand out.
Any questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Afternoon, councilors. Lieutenant Brian Lutz, Police Department. We have item number 31. That's a waiver of competitive bid to utilize Friends Forever Animal Rescue for veterinary services and lodging for animals involved in our cruelty investigations. That's intended to supplement the Humane CNY contract we already have due to the volume of the cases. Humane CNY just can't handle the volume at this point. So it's to give us another option.
Any questions?
Where would you take them? You take like emergency medical, veterinarian services, or other? Okay.
So we would actually take them to the animal rescue. They can provide the vet services and the lodging for the animals.
And is there a situation where you may have to call another veterinary service if they're backed up? Do we have like an agreement with other veterinarian hospitals in the area?
Yes, I believe the Parks Commissioner just referred to the vet emergency medicine place that there's also a contract for.
Okay, thank you.
We also have item number 32. That's asking to enter an agreement with New York State Department of Agricultural and Market to provide law enforcement services at the state fair. That's our annual contract we have with them to put our officers out there to assist the state police in maintaining order at the fair. Questions on that one?
So for 33, there's 5,000, and then it's up to not to exceed $18,000. That's such a huge distance. What's?
Are we good with 30? Everybody's good with 32?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we're good. We're good with it.
Yes.
Yes.
So 33, Counselor, it is to increase the waiver to use Dr. Norman Leswig. He provides our fit for duty evaluations of our officers. In a normal year, 5,000 is more than enough. Due to the events of the past few months, we had a lot of officers out of work, and we wanted to put them through evaluation before we brought them back. That's the increased cost.
I know we've commended you before for doing things like that, but again, let me just say that good job with doing that.
Thank you, Counselor. Any questions?
No, thank you. And the 34 is it's a resolution memorizing Officer Jensen for giving the ultimate sacrifice.
I'm sure all the councilors would like to co-sponsor that.
Yes, anybody would like to?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That'll
Thank
be
you,
all for
Councilor
me.
Michelle. Councilor Paniagua.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have items 35 to 40. Hi, Richard. So, take
Good
the floor.
afternoon, Council. Rick Elsever, Director of Human Resources. Item 35 is to enter into an agreement with HR Works to help us provide our FMLA services to our employees. So they will, and we're going to have a committee meeting on Monday, which will encompass this as well. But they're going to work on our behalf with our employees to make sure there is transparency, compliance with paperwork, et cetera, all of the pieces that come into play with FMLA, so which is the Family Medical Leave Act.
I just have one quick question about this. So if somebody asks to be on leave for 2 years, so that position, do we hire an interim to do the work? I mean, 2 years is a long time.
So with FMLA, there's a limit of 12 weeks, but there's a
okay.
calculation of how much time you're allotted. There's a qualification piece that comes into play with it. So it should only be a maximum of 12 weeks for FMLA.
But then that can continue to be extended as needed. Is that what that is?
Not technically
Not
with
necessarily.
FMLA. There are
Okay.
some ADA
That's my
pieces that come
question.
into play, but realistically, ADA is not being away from work. It's an accommodation at work.
Okay.
Now, how would the transparency and compliance be committed? Would this be like HR works speaking with and walking through the person, or how is this going to happen?
Yeah, so HR Works will be essentially taking over that functionality where we're referring our folks to HR Works. HR Works is walking them through their paperwork, working with their doctors, and making sure that the paperwork is correct so that they can get the leave that they need.
Walk them through the
Yep,
process.
they walk them through the process.
Okay.
They document everything. We work with HR Works, pull reporting from them, and they work in our system and making sure that everything is compliant on the reporting that we have to do on the back end. But they'll be working heavily with our employees.
Any other questions? All right. Well, continuing.
Item 36 is to authorize the first one-year extension with Excelis to continue our healthcare. Item number 37 is to enter in an agreement with ProAct for the last year of their contract or the last possible extension of their contract to continue our pharmacy benefits, so all of our medications that are filled through our insurance. And
That going.
so far, the complaints are down. We've done a huge educational campaign on getting folks to understand how to not only use their insurance, but how to work with their doctor and their providers to make sure that they're getting the medication they need. So complaints are way down on ProAct. But that does expire, so we will be RFPing at the end of this year to prep for next year.
You said 37 is that also extending the contract. It wasn't request. Is that what you also want that contract to be extended out of December 24? Because the request didn't ask for the contract to be extended. It's just asked to increase the cost.
Or sorry, excuse me, to increase. This is the last year, though.
Okay.
So I apologize.
No,
It is
good.
to just
No, I
increase
just
the
wanna make
amount.
sure you're right.
It's a 2-year.
Yeah.
But it is the last of the extension, so that will go to RFP. Got ahead of myself there.
Just to make sure I'm reading this properly. We're talking calendar year 23, calendar year 24, 7.5 per year for a total of 15?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And it's ProAct.
ProAct, yes.
Okay.
And then the last is 38, and that is our annual agreement with LGS, which is Leadership of Greater Syracuse, which is a development program for leadership in the city. And we have a share that we pledge to be responsible for. In return, we send 3 of our top qualified candidates to LGS for application, and we get in return 1 admittance to the program for one of our employees. So
It's great. I'm a class of 2016, and I thank them wholeheartedly for putting up with me back in 2016. So
That's a great program. Next to me.
That's still carry forward. So this is a great program.
thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
And then items 39 and 40, is there anybody here from Focus Greater Syracuse? Okay, so what that is we are also supporting Focus Greater Syracuse with $10,000. The program, the agreement would be for the Citizens Academy program. Funds will be used towards personnel time for coordinating venues, panelists, and vendors as well as managing marketing, participant selection, and program facilitation. This is another great program that our city has that invests in our future leaders.
Yep. I think it should be noted, Counselor, that $10,000 that we're contributing is a small part of
It's a very small
their
part
total
of,
budget.
yes, it is. Okay,
Thank you, Councilor Paniagua.
that's it for me, thank you.
Councilor Manto for Councilor Gathers.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Item 41. Hi, Ann.
Hey, good afternoon, councilors. Ann Fordock, First Deputy Commissioner of Syracuse DPW. And 41 is to extend our existing agreement with Barton LaJudas, who are our consultants. And I think at this point, the contract has run out, so to pay them, we would need to continue the extension on that. They are helping with all things solid waste related, so that is calculating participation, helping with the trash cart rollout, the recycling cart rollout, and with route optimization.
And they'll be responsible for giving us data to move forward with recycling.
They are exceptional at giving us data. Was there something you specifically wanted?
Just general.
Okay.
Questions on that one? Okay. 42.
Afternoon, councilors. Corey Dunham, Chief Operating Officer. This is the $1.5 million set aside in the capital improvement plan for parking garage rehabilitation for the garages that the city owns.
Councilor Williams, you've made mention of this before.
Welcome back. Good to see you.
Yeah, you as well.
Can we get something on the calendar for parking garages in general?
Sure.
You know, from last time I was here, which was a while ago at this point, I held a number of items or asked Councilor Gathers to hold them.
Okay.
To have a larger conversation around the finances of the parking garages and capital costs and kind
So
of
I'll work with the council staff to get a committee meeting set? Okay. Happy to do that. Thank you, councilors.
I think that's far as that's looking to the future as the city changes. We maybe should reassess our position as far as the parking garages go. So,
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. 44.
Good afternoon, Council. Neil Burke, DPW. Number 44 is to amend an existing ordinance, which is our agreement with Genoptic North America. They changed their name and DBA, as well as some other contract-specific language. This is related to the safety initiative we have ongoing related to the school zones and school buses related to speeding.
Neil, will you explain that? Explain the receiving a percentage of fees thing.
That whole amend, change it up from
Yes, certainly. So there's still no cost to the city. You know, it's written here as a percentage of the fee, which is how these companies essentially work. So the city doesn't pay anything in, but if there is a fine or a fee associated with something, they take a cut of that for their back-end processing, excuse me, cost of the cameras, maintenance, things like that. So city doesn't have to manage or maintain these items. That's where the percentages come in.
So you guys are giving permission to them, asking the council to give permission to them to charge a percentage for that, basically.
Why do they have a varied fee structure from 35 to 45%?
It depends on the equipment used. So there's a difference between, you know, items that go on the school bus, which require a little bit more maintenance. Those are related to the stop arms. So if you speed past a school bus that's stopped, you're not supposed to. That would be a violation versus something like a red light camera, which has a different scope and fee.
And is a 45%? I don't have any background in this. That seems relatively high that we're giving them half of our money that we collect for a fine.
We found them to be very competitive in this regard compared to some of the other submittals that we got. And they are essentially an industry leader.
half of money that'd never be collected if we didn't have the
Fair enough.
technology.
Right. Originally, we said no cost to the city, and I think that we needed to update that. And so that's the reason for the language change.
There's still no cost to the city, right?
Right. No, there's no cost to the city at all.
So at some point, we would get statistics and all that about how many actual stops there are and all that. Maybe maybe Councilor Gathers will have a committee meeting on this or something.
Absolutely. They're very forthcoming with this. It's all data focused, a lot of numbers. Any information that's needed, basically, they can provide it for us.
So the collecting the revenue, is that coming back to the city?
Yes. Yes, and we made a declaration that any revenue collected via this process is going to go back into safety items and improvements around the schools. So we don't know what that'll look like yet, but we talked about crossing guards, crosswalks, new items like that. So it's really focused on safety.
Neil, with the data that you have seen, did you roughly, and I know each city is different, right? Each case is different. But in terms of the revenue generated, do you know average what?
We don't know.
Okay.
It varies widely because every city has done something different. And so what we want to do is we're just looking at the schools. And a lot of other cities looked at busy roads or entries into town or whatever, what have you. The fact that we're looking at schools might put us on the low end, but we're okay with that. It's not a revenue-driven program. It's really about safety. We want you, in theory, the general public, not to speed in school zones or around school buses. But
We
again,
got
any info that's collected, we'll share readily.
We got all of them up, or we still working on those readers?
So this program hasn't gone into effect yet. The other sort of flashing signs, those are ongoing. We've got a
All of
bunch
them.
up, and we're going to keep going with them.
Okay.
They help.
Okay, that's what I was asking. All of okay, all right, that works. Well said.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
I will distract you with more trash talk. So, Ann Fordock again. And so we have 45, which is to take our sweeper waste, so it's materials from the road that we sweep up, and we want to take that to Madison County landfill for disposal. And 46 is actually construction debris, and it's a backup resource for us that we use sometimes. Most of our construction debris currently goes to Okra, but this is another resource we can use as Camillus landfill. It's good just have these agreements for the incoming waste streams that we produce.
So we've used Camillus historically. Are we adding Madison County? Is that a new
We
one?
are adding Madison County. Camillus no longer can take our sweeper waste, so I had to find a new location. And it had to go through a whole process with the DEC and to be able to take it there. But we're inches away, and this is one of the final legs in that is getting common council approval to take it there.
And what's unique about the waste generated from the sweepers?
It's interesting because there is a DEC beneficial use determination on it, which does help with taking it to a landfill, but it's everything you see on the street. So it's a mix of organics, soil, gravel, stone, salt, and some garbage mixed in. And so Camillus, because they're a construction landfill, construction debris landfill, they really can't take the organic material, whereas a regular landfill can.
So is our cost to Camillus going down because we're adding Madison County?
Camillus actually is under new administration, and all of their costs have gone up. So it's comparable to their price increases if they would let us take it there, but they will not.
Okay, thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
47,
Good afternoon, councilors. Mary Robinson, city engineer. 47 is requesting authorizing an agreement with Barton and LaJudas for the Outer Eastwood Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project, where we have a grant with, or we're in the process of executing a grant with New York State EFC. The total amount of the agreement is not to exceed $1,075,000, and the grant is for almost $6.5 million.
thanks, Mary.
Thank you. And item 48 is a revocable permission to Syracuse Property Holding, Inc. to repair and operate an existing underground vault in the city right-of-way at 221 South Warren Street. There was an ordinance authorized in 1979 that allowed them to install this vault, but it was kind of didn't have all our standard terms and conditions that we have in our current revocable permissions. So this ordinance is replacing that one, and they are in dispute about the ownership of the vault, so that's still under dispute and with the lawyers, but this gives them permission to repair the vault. There's currently fencing and Jersey barriers around it and very hard for pedestrians to go by and really needs to be repaired. So they've agreed in the meantime to do this one-time repair. So that's what the permission's for, no cost to the city.
There's a revised letter coming through. I think I put the wrong one in.
Yeah, 'cause we were going back and forth with the terms and conditions, so.
It's just terms, it's nothing different when you see it in the packet.
Thank you.
49.
Good afternoon, councilors. Beth Smith from the Water Department. We have items 49 through 53. 49 is declaring the intake extension project as a negative declaration, and this is required to proceed with the project. Any questions? Items 50 and 51 is regarding the project and bond authorization for the intake extension project. This is included in our current CIP. And item 53 is, again, included in our current CIP. It is for the design of the Comstock pump station to have cash capital monies transferred into our account so we can issue an RFP for this project.
Would you mind taking me very, very briefly through what the intake extension project will be, what it'll look like, how it'll benefit us?
Yes, we will be issuing a bid in the fall and to extend the intake approximately 5,000 feet into the lake, intake number 2. It's to prevent possible turbidity issues to improve the water quality. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I'll do it. 54, we're going to bring Eric up here. You've been working a lot on these projects.
Yeah,
here.
we've got a few items before you today that we'll talk about. But good afternoon, councilors. Eric Ennis, Neighborhood and Business Development. So the two items you have before you, these are companion pieces of legislation, but this is all centered around a project that was funded through the city's Downtown Revitalization Initiative, or DRI, which is the activation of the West Onondaga Street Bridge. So if you're familiar with the bridge that immediately goes over at the corner of Clinton, West Onondaga, near Dickerson Street, that was one of the priority projects funded through the DRI. A key element of that does involve additional design work. We're going to be doing some additional stakeholder and community engagement for that project and the final design before the work is ultimately undertaken and completed. But the request before you is for a waiver of the RFP process. The reason for that is particularly EDR and CNS companies. Both of these vendors have done significant work already in this area. When we did the two-way conversion of Clinton Street, for example, that work was done by CNS, and EDR had already done quite a bit of preliminary planning for the bridge project. So this will allow us to ultimately move forward with these two vendors, but happy to take any questions.
I'm in favor of this, of course. I mean, just energizing that area downtown over the last few years has been amazing too. So I'm totally in favor of this. Salt City Market, Chimesville, and everything's coming back over there. So
I'm surprised no trucks have hit that bridge yet.
You know, I think the height on that one's a little bit higher than maybe some elsewhere in the community, but yes. So
Park Street.
Yeah. Okay.
55.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, you want to take this, Councilor Manto? 56.
Thanks, Councilor Hogan. Item 56.
Good afternoon, Council. Jake Dishaw, Deputy Commissioner of Code Enforcement and Zoning Administration. Item number 56 is the long-awaited zoning text amendment update, which started prior to the adoption last July. I've supplied Councilor Hogan and others that we met with previously with kind of a cheat sheet summary by article on some of the amendments that we're proposing here. Just to give a quick rundown, we went before the Planning Commission on May the 6th. At that meeting, it was decided we would have a public meeting work session where we were in council chambers going through every proposed text amendment change. That was on May the 22nd. And then that followed with going back to Planning Commission on May the 28th, which brings us here before you today. We missed a session because a few of us were gone at a conference, so that's why we missed a session there in between. But I can go through by article, but I want to start off with the big one, because this was before we even adopted rezone. There was a lot of discussion on family. How are we going to treat family and the definition of family, and how are we going to, what are we doing about people? Are they related? Are they not related? That was always challenging anyway, so that definition is gone. What we've done is we've aligned the zoning code with property maintenance codes. So we're not basing it off people or who's related to who.
Square footage, right?
It's based on, common area and square footage that you can provide. And if you have enough common area space that you can have, then you can expand or intensify or increase density. So basically what we're asking for is if people want to add bedrooms, increase density and intensity of the use, then they need to offset that somehow through a site plan review process and have certain requirements that align with property maintenance codes, which you would have to do anyway, in theory, if you follow the rules, because you'd be doing work, physical work, construction, adding a room or changing one large bedroom into two, or taking a sunroom and making it into a bedroom. But no longer will this ever point to, 5 unrelated, or no more than 5 unrelated 18 and older. And we weren't tracking that anyway. I mean, we couldn't. But what we're doing is we're separating owner-occupied 1 and 2 families, and then we're separating rentals that we put into a new use category called ResCom, residential commercial living. And it doesn't add any burden to the owner unless they're expanding bedrooms. And even if you're adding only 1, there's an administrative minor site plan review process. And we've all heard about it, if you want to add 3 or 4 bedrooms to a 3-family house, that changes kind of the use of that structure and that property. It adds parking, it creates issues with potentially extra kitchens that aren't permitted, or bathrooms shoved in places where they shouldn't be. So this kind of addresses that issue without concerning how many people can live somewhere or who can live with somebody. No longer trying to say it can only be blood related, family, no more than a certain number. We're only going to get involved with that if there's overcrowding and there's a fire code or an actual building code property maintenance issue. Other than that, we'll be tracking the square footage of the bedrooms and the common areas. And this is only if you're looking to expand. If you have an existing rental property and you're not doing anything to it, nothing changes. But if you want to add 3 bedrooms, then you have to go through a site plan review process and meet some of these new requirements. So I want to pause there because that's the big one, and that's kind of what started all of this.
Yep. So, Jake, this has long been a hot topic on the east side. I really like the direction that we're moving in terms of the change and how we're thinking about it conceptually in terms of square footage rather than individuals. Can you tell a little bit about the monitoring and enforcement plan for this change, and how we're going to make sure that we're able to, find it and prevent illegal construction and addition of rooms?
Sure. So with anything, all enforcement, comes with
something being adopted into law, but how this transitions into how we actually execute this is through our existing inspection programs. So 2 scenarios: rental registry, those are 1 and 2 family non-owner occupieds, or certificate of compliance, those are multiple dwelling unit structures, 3 family and up, or mixed use, so as small as 1 commercial on the first floor, 1 apartment above. Both of those are required to be inspected every 3 years. When we do that, the zoning office will be providing code enforcement inspectors with a zone check on what's supposed to be there. We'll be pulling every historical record that we can find to say this is a 2-story, 3-bedroom home. So we go in and do a rental registry at a 1 family and we find 5 bedrooms. Now we got a problem. Doesn't mean they can't establish it. There's a path to do so, but you have to go through the requirements that are in here to establish that increased density and that increased intensity of the use of that residential structure. So to answer your question, we'll be providing zone checks with our inspectors to enforce the square footage requirements in the bedrooms that we have on record, sometimes hundreds of years ago. Pulling all the old yellow card assessments, anything that we can find. You know, but things happen. If somebody, you know, people might have inherited something or bought something that's been there. We work with people to establish something that was done 70, 80 years ago if they can prove it, if they can show that, you know, that's been that way, here it is. But there's a process to get through it, and it's all through the site plan review process. After, it's either people coming to us that are, you know, the honest people out there that want to do it the right way before they do it, or, hey, I have this situation, I either did this or I own this house and it was like this, and I want to establish this. There's a path and a process to do so through this with site plan.
Hey, Jake. Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead. Okay. I Trump. All right. So listen, on this is a lot of information, and I thank you for going through it and revising some of it. But I don't see the part where we fix the area of how the parts of the south side is zoned.
It's in Article 1, so we have a section where we're grandfathering 2-story single-unit homes that were previously established that way prior to the rezone amendment or rezone adoption.
Not just that part, I see that part, that if the houses were already 2-family, that they can become 2-family. But my big concern is, why is it even zoned in that neighborhood for that? So that was my issue, that neighborhood shouldn't even been zoned that from the first place.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. That's one way. Another way to look at it is there's in those neighborhoods you're referencing, they're R1, so 1 family. But what we're going to do is, if you're a 2-family, we'll establish you as a 2-family so you can get whatever it is you need: permits, loans, mortgages. But you got to think there's probably more single-family homes in R1 districts than 2-family. So all the single-family owners, how are they all going to feel if we just change it to R2 and then everybody can change to 2-family? I don't know. That's a discussion we can have, but this is a path forward that keeps things as is physically built today.
So Jake, if there was to be a total loss of a 2-family on a block due to a fire and they needed to go back and rebuild, they could rebuild the 2-family.
With this change, they could.
Okay.
And that's the problem we ran into.
Yeah.
So this addresses the problem that we had there without opening up some additional, I don't want to say concerns, but factors that we would have to consider in a neighborhood that's always been 1-family zone.
But with the lack of housing, so if there was any houses that like if we have an empty space and land, then that means no one could build a 2-family.
Well, there's paths forward to seek relief. There's variance. There's use variances. We also have the provision in here for accessory dwelling unit. I know we don't have those yet. ADUs. You ever go to like Austin? They're everywhere. Rochester has the same thing. They're not seeing them yet either, but maybe our markets will demand those, and then you can expand and add dwelling units to a single family. But I just want to be clear, this does address the problem that we sought out to address. Happy to, discuss other thoughts.
I think, Councilor Manto, I think if there's questions from my colleagues here, we can talk about them. They can call you, and you'll. And also, I think we want to compliment. I want to compliment my colleagues and the administration that have worked on this rezone. I mean, we did rezone after, 1967 was the last time it was done, and we did it, and with the agreement that we would be nimble and flexible, addressing issues that might come up in the ever-changing face of the city. So I don't know, what do you want to do, Councilor Manto?
Yeah, no, I think we should be okay with this by Monday. I think, I want to say.
And if there's additional amends we have to make down the road, we'll do it. Working in conjunction with the administration.
I do think what might be, I want to make sure we don't miss that these amendments take not only a giant leap towards safer housing, but the removal of that word family or the definition of family. It's been no secret how much I hate the idea of tracking who is related to who inside of a household. Because there are a lot of people in this country that don't consider my husband and I to be a family. So getting that out of there is a big deal for me. So thank you for being open and listening to us for the last year.
No, and I publicly want to shout out our team, Corp Council, Sue Katzoff, Mayor Hertzberg, all the zoning planners. What we've done here is, this is kind of nerdy, but I want to mention it. We've talked to
graduate. That's perfect.
Who would have thought? No, but seriously, we've talked to people that have done zoning their entire lives in the state of New York, state officials that said this is one of the most innovative processes, policy ideas we've ever seen. And more importantly, it's the only way to address it without being challenged on a constitutional lawsuit. So hats off. We should apply for some award or something. I don't know. Some organization out there must exist to do that. But a lot of hard work. And to your last point, Counselor, we want to keep this agile so we don't have to do a full rewrite in 40 years. I don't want to hand this off to somebody down the road and have them have to redo it all. So every year, and a lot of these other things that are in here that maybe nobody thought would be in here for amendments are here because in the last year, we've had things come up where we're like, we need to address this. We need to add something because this situation that came up isn't working. We need to add this so we can fix some of the problems that we had. So we plan to keep doing that, and we'll engage with Planning Commission and with the council and the public so we have a transparent kind of open process, and there'll never be a full rewrite ever needed again.
So we rewrote for rezone for families, language change, but we didn't do it for rental registry.
That's correct. So we talk about that, but the provision that you're mentioning that we were chatting about, Counselor, is if somebody should be exempt from having a rental registry inspection because they have family living in the structure. But to that point, I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to because it's a great example. The Carbon Street gas explosion. All family, right? I think we should still be inspecting. We want to waive fees. That's a different story, but we want to keep people safe, right? That's our number one goal.
I agree. I just want to make sure that we're being transparent because in one way we're telling, in rezone, there's no such thing, family is. But then when it comes to rental registry, no, family is only categorized as this.
Yeah.
So I do, safety is number one, but we want to just make sure we're not saying one thing on one part because now we're contradicting ourselves.
I know Councilor Paniagua and others have been working on some amendments with that, so we should touch base with that meeting that we talked about, and we can group that into that round for specific to rental registry and who's exempt, who isn't exempt, who has to get one. But we can do that.
I want to go back to the point you made earlier, Jake, just to seek some clarification about if you had a two-family house and if it was torn down, now it had to be rebuilt, we are grandfathered in that if it was two-family house for rebuilding, then it'd be two-family, right? Are we also giving the option that if that individual want to change to one family, is that?
Oh yeah, because that would be compliant. That would meet code. So
Okay,
you can do one or the other. You can rebuild because you're You know, you can rebuild your nonconformity, or you can comply with what's allowed. So both options would be available.
And I just want to make a comment related to what Jimmy has said. I think, you know, when we started this family discussion early on, I had made a point that, especially as Lost Boys, when we came to this country, we obviously we were not related, but we were all grouped together to live together, and it was the most economical way for us to afford rent. And if this law was in existence, then that's probably the resettlement agency would have had problem trying to put a bunch of young men together to live together who were unrelated. So I think us heading to that direction, I think, you know, not only does it accommodate our current situation, but it also look forward into recognizing that city of Syracuse is becoming an international city. And because of that reason, there's going to be people that are coming here that are unrelated, and they want to live together to afford living here in the city. So it's
Yep. Amen to that. I think we all have people in our lives that we love that aren't necessarily blood, but we consider family. So that covers it all, I think.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm all set, Counselor Hogan.
Thanks, Councilor Manto. We have Councilor, myself and Councilor Jones-Rouser will be advertising a public hearing on housing, as we talked about housing just now. And 58 will hold obviously until after the public hearing on July 30th. Okay, that's myself. I have item 59. We've been switching around, but nobody's taking up my burden, I guess. So, I know, I got a whole lot of them right, Councilor Major. Okay, 59, Jake, I don't know, Jake, you want to address this? This is the,
Oh, that's gonna be withdrawn, I'm sorry.
okay, withdrawn, okay.
I'm in the cloud here.
Okay, 60 is, I'm okay with this. This is a special permit. There's nobody to, we're okay with this one.
That's right. That's Riley's, right?
No, it's.
Or Shifty's, I mean.
Shifty's, get them right.
Oh, yeah, I would, I don't want to make that mistake.
Yeah.
I meant
Shifty, it's for the
Shifty's is
second
okay.
floor expansion,
So,
special use permit.
61, the technologies, who's taking that?
Yeah, that's me too. So 61 and 62 are for permit software, and we've gone through this with a number of you, but some of you we haven't. I think it was 2019, SIDA covered the first payment for these, and this was our digital transformation for our permitting management software. So we have to have something that's our system of record to manage all that. But then we also eliminated the need for developers and architects and owners to submit 8 sets of large construction drawings multiple times. We saw one project spend $10,000 on paper and printing. Now it's a digital process. It's all online. All the tools that we need to do plan review, we've eliminated our plan review tables, all the measuring, overlayment of changes. It's all done in a digital process to the benefit of our constituents and our developers that do work here. So 61 is for Camino. That's the permit system of record. And 62 is ePlansoft. That's instead of doing a plan review on a large blueprint, doing it digitally on a screen. So that's a software that allows us to do that.
Jake, how many staff do you have in permitting right now?
Oh.
Do you have
Well-
enough staff? How about that?
So we hopefully will soon. So the council did grant us some positions, so we're working on that. You know anybody, let us know. But yeah, we have 5 open plan reviewers. 5. 5. So
Yeah, send us the qualification.
Yeah.
Maybe we can help you
Yeah.
with spread the word.
we'll do.
And what are they, planning reviewers?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And the training, Jake, is going along okay with the new planning reviewers and all? Because obviously with, there's talk of Micron, I'm sort of associated with that through the IDA, and we're, city neighborhoods are going to be desirable, I believe, for some of the demographics of some of the people that are going to come in here. I think if sooner we get plans out the door and building permits issued, the better it is for everybody involved. So,
Yep, we've got a number of plans for all of that. We've tried to build career pathways so we can bring people in entry level, work them all the way up. So we've been very intentional about that.
Good?
it's probably a good idea to send out the qualifications to all the city councilors too, for anybody we might know that if you got positions
Definitely.
open.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks.
Okay, 63 is, oh, Michael. No, we already did 63.
No, he did the digital.
63. Yeah.
Good
63.
afternoon, councilors.
Commissioner?
Michael Lehman, Deputy Commissioner, Assessment Department. I have items 63 and 64, two requests to amend ordinances previously authorized by the council. First is to expand the scope and increase the payment to CT Mail Associates, the company we're hiring to survey the parcels, which we're colloquially calling the Garzones parcels on South Avenue. This is just to include the one slightly farther west to make sure that they have all the meets and bounds appropriate for, again, potential disposition down the road. We intend still to advertise an RFP for those parcels.
Yeah, Michael, I really want to thank you for working so hard on this. You know, you've been a while, to a couple of years to get to this point, and it's going well. So thank you for your effort.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yeah.
I had a question. Is this a local company? Is this local?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Okay.
If there aren't any further questions, the next request is to amend the ordinance. This is a license agreement with CNS companies. They're performing some environmental testing on parcels on Seymour Street, and just extending the dates which they can do that from the end of this month to the end of September.
Any questions? Okay, 65.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Councilors. Owen Kearney, Deputy Commissioner for Planning and Sustainability. Number 65 is request to authorize an agreement with Colliers Engineering. This would be for design work relative to Progress Park, consistent with our local waterfront revitalization program. We put this work out to bid, or excuse me, put it out, request for proposals, had 7 proposals, performed the interview. Councilor Caldwell was part of the team, along with some of my colleagues, and Colliers was ultimately selected. They're already currently working on the LWRP plan, working with the Parks Department on some work in the Inner Harbor, and we're also the low bidder. So really had unanimous support for going with them, and excited to start working with them. So that's that item, and happy to answer any questions about that.
Oh, and that doesn't include the refurbishment of the amphitheater, right?
That is correct,
Okay.
Counselor. It does not include that. It's really that the park boundary, so to speak. So it'll include the parking lot and kind of the grassy area that is otherwise unprogrammed. And really what we're trying to do, and this will include probably some of you in all of you in these discussions, the public in these discussions, but here's this great park. How do we improve it? What are things that we can do, relatively light touches, amenities that we know for events that happen there, for people that want to be there, things like trails, benches, lighting, safety upgrades. So that's what we'll work with Colliers to brainstorm and ultimately prepare a design that then will be constructed under a separate contract.
I think we always want to be cognitive of that we create these great spaces. We want to make sure we maintain them too, you know, and have the resources to maintain them. But this has come a long way, and I want to thank Councilor Manto for pushing this to the fore too, and the rest of my colleagues. So that's, any other questions? 65?
And
66 is sort of a line too, right?
66 is a request to authorize, and these next couple ones, I know my colleague Eric will be up to speak to them, but these are all requests for the upcoming consolidated funding application. This is a New York State process. There's a range of applications. 66, the one before you, is for the local waterfront revitalization program. Same thing we just talked about in 65. It is preliminary design dollars, kind of conceptual design dollars for the Inner Harbor piers. So again, 65 is focused on design of Progress Park. This would look across the Inner Harbor at those city-owned piers that are otherwise unprogrammed, underutilized, and do some preliminary investigations, some testing work, geotechnical, what can we do there, what can't we do there, and then do some public engagement and start thinking about really the reuse and redesign of these highly visible and a lot of potential here in the future redevelopment of the Inner Harbor. So this is just a request to apply for those grant funds. This work would happen over the next couple of years.
Is it still possible that the freight house will go out onto one of those piers?
That's the type of thing we're looking at. So what we do here is going to be done as part of this design work. So I don't have a full picture of that, but trying to give you an idea of some of the positive work. And again, all of these funds, 65, 66, are New York State funds. So really getting additional funds into the city to do transformative work.
You want to say anything, Eric? Or he covered it?
He's up next.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, councilors.
Okay. 67 there, Mr.
All right,
Ennis.
thank you. So the next several items, and I will talk through each one of these, but as Owen just noted, a number of different grants that the city is in the process of applying for that will all be part of that CFA process. So item number 67, this is a new program that's been established by the state of New York known as the Pro Housing Communities Capital Grant Program. This is specifically for communities in the state of New York that have officially been designated pro housing communities. Very proud to say that the city of Syracuse just recently got that designation. So we can apply for this program for up to $3 million. Through more details from Empire State Development, we've learned that this really has to involve municipal property or municipally owned buildings. So right now, because of the fact that we do still own City Hall Commons and we are in the process of the planning for that redevelopment, we're applying with the priority focus being on City Hall Commons for this project, which, as you'll recall, will result in 40 new units of mixed income housing, which we think is a great project. It's a great, compelling application for this program.
I got a question. You just, with the new applying for the mixed income housing, how long is that applicable? Like, so for the owner, how long do they have to keep mixed housing?
So that is one of the things that we've been talking about with the zoning team. So I don't want to speak incorrectly about that, but.
Councilors, Michael Collins, Commissioner for Neighborhood and Business Development. So there is no expiration date. So as long as the structure is built out to be a housing unit with 20 or more units, then that remains in place.
Even if they sell it?
Correct, because it's attached to the property, not the ownership.
So they have to keep it that way. There's no, they have to have mixed.
If you develop a property that has 20 units or more in the city of Syracuse, you will have income restricted housing as part of that makeup. If the building 20 years down the road, there's reason that it gets, that we've built so much housing, somebody turns it into office space, then they come back and they say, hey, look, we're going to reuse this space, and that becomes a different discussion. But as long as it's got the housing in it as approved, then it has to remain that way.
So we don't have anything that 19 and under, just 20 and up.
20 and up, correct. Yeah. When we went with a number that looked like it was going to be highly effective, but also realistic, when you get into smaller units and the per unit cost to maintain the building is just a higher percentage per unit. So we wanted to be realistic about what was possible. And as we've seen come through Planning Commission, a significant number of properties that are being developed right now have committed to do that. So it's been highly effective.
Have we tied our zoning, what we require as far as zoning goes for affordable housing, have we tied that into the UTEP at Saida, you just gave me that look.
No, I'm happy to speak to it. So any project going through the IDA, going through SIDA, is going to have to comply with the city zoning ordinance. So we've been actively discussing changes to that UTEP document. But what our expectation and requirement is that any project going through the IDA has to comply with those new city zoning
part of the
ordinance
UTEP,
requirements.
though?
It is
For
not
housing?
explicitly in the language with those same, what's included in the zoning ordinance. However, you cannot get a project through permitting and zoning, as well as you can't receive IDA exemptions unless you have those approvals through the
good,
city
okay.
and through the IDA.
So we're locked in.
So they're
Yeah.
aligned, yes.
Eric, can you just give a quick update on, I think there was RFPs that went out on maybe 2 to 3 old Syracuse
Sure, city school district properties.
those
Yeah,
properties.
so, and that's been led by assessment as well as budget. We did receive responses to each one of those RFPs. I know that right now we're still reviewing and vetting, and there will be a committee that will be convened as part of those reviews. And I think that that was just within the last few weeks when that submission deadline was. So, but it is an example very similar to City Hall Commons, where we are really trying to place emphasis on city-held assets, working with the school district to redevelop these properties. Still in the very early stages at this point with those properties.
Can
so.
you, so this
Go ahead.
67 couldn't be applied to any of those because of the process that you're at right now as well?
I think to your question, the challenge is because we haven't made it to a point where we've officially made any selections or have a project that we can really show or demonstrate how it's going to result in new housing, it wouldn't be as strong of an application.
But basically, if there was multiples, would we be able to divide this between properties? Or is this just one?
It's just intended to be one project or one site, and that was one of the things that we ultimately had to do, just kind of figuring out what project we felt like was the best fit and the most eligible for the program. I think the hope is that this may be a program that the state will continue to fund in future years, because there's a limited number of municipalities that can apply.
And we'll get a chance to weigh in, of course, because the council would have to approve the sale of any of those properties.
Correct. Yes, so if talking down the road before any formal sales take place, that will come back before this body for whatever the future is of those school district properties, yes.
With the agreement, I know it's an application and agreement. Corp counsel, do they really have to come back to the council upon any movement towards that? You're talking about the selling of property. Oh, the selling.
Yes, it was specifically with the question related to the school district properties, yep.
Any questions? Any more? Okay, next.
Okay, so just to complement some of what Owen already shared, so separate from the LWRP program, there's also the New York State Canal Corporation, and so we are also drafting an Inner Harbor related ask to the Canal Corporation. And Councilor Monto, going back to your question about the Freight House, one of the things that we would be looking at is that opportunity to actually have the relocation of the Freight House be one of the things that's considered eligible for this program. As Owen noted, we're still assessing and making sure that the piers could be an opportunity for the Freight House to be relocated, but it is one of the eligible things we're exploring and looking at as part of this request.
Because we own the Freight House again, right?
So it is on core-owned property, but however, we will become the owner of the Freight House. Structure itself, yes.
Gotcha.
So the plan and core is fully aligned with the relocation of that and moving that. They have plans to develop that Solar Street parcel where it is now. We are the owner of what we call the terminal lands, and that's all part of the planning efforts between Owen, myself, and several other staff departments. So any other questions on that one?
69.
Okay, so moving on to 69. So we are really placing a lot of emphasis this year around the city's BOAs, which stands for Brownfield Opportunity Areas. As the council may recall, we currently have one designated BOA within the city, which is really in the Hiawatha and Lodi BOA that's over on the north side. However, there have been planning efforts in the past for two additional BOAs, one being the Erie Boulevard BOA, comprising most of the east side of the city, as well as the South Salina Street BOA on the city's south side. And so this is a grant request to the Department of State to be able to undertake the final steps to formally designate those BOAs and opportunities to then to pursue additional redevelopment, environmental remediation, contamination, all of those things that can, the benefits that you receive if you're within a BOA. that's what we're looking to apply for in this round. Then the additional piece, the companion legislation there, item number 70, is that we'd also like to pursue the opportunity to establish a west side focused BOA, given the corridors there where there's also contaminated sites and districts. So we've had a lot of recent conversations with the Department of State who are really encouraging us and would like to see the city continue to pursue getting these BOAs across the finish line. So with your support, we'd like to move forward with those requests.
So Eric, that area is fenced in?
So the BOAs themselves, these are very large neighborhood.
area.
Yeah, so some of these incorporate hundreds of parcels. And so for these areas, they may be privately owned, there may be some city-owned properties or some land bank owned, and so it's really more of a strategic planning and analysis effort. And so that's what we'd be doing, is we'd use the grant funds to bring in a consultant team. They would help us identify some of those really great development opportunities, and that's all part of the BOA planning
After all the
process.
cleanup, we can look at this opportunity to have new housing in that area, utilize these areas.
Yeah, combination of uses. I think it can be commercial, there could be industrial opportunities. It really depends, and it would be specific to the sites that we think are the strongest opportunities for redevelopment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
71.
Okay, and then 71 is, so this is, the city is not directly applying for this. However, as part of the New York Main Street program, the municipality does have to formally endorse and acknowledge the application. So as part of the Chimes building redevelopment, which is being led by Seed Syracuse, they are applying for what's known as the Anchor Project designation as part of the New York Main Street program, which allows development to apply for up to $500,000. So Seed Syracuse and the Chimes building would be the applicant here in Syracuse, and this would just be formally authorizing and approving that application.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Eric.
All right, thank you all very much.
Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Councilor Hogan. I have items 72 through 80.
Like the tie, Commissioner.
Thank you, Counselor. Feeling vernal today. Requesting a lease agreement for the property at 2501 West Genesee Street, commonly known as 404 Salisbury Road. This is a 3-bedroom, single-family house on the Westcott Reservoir property. Historically been rented to a water employee who has duties on site. It's been vacant for a period, but Water has identified an employee who really would be an asset to take care of our asset, as it were.
And I got to ask this on behalf of my constituents. How are we going to get the money that the previous occupant of this house?
That is a very good question. I
Well, thank
defer to
you.
Corporation
Councilors
Counsel
love
on
hearing
that. Yeah, that one is way out of my lane, so I'd have to defer to my attorney colleagues on
See
this.
Mr. Kaliva back there. Do you have any idea how we would recoup the money from this employee?
I think we need to defer to Corporation Counsel on that one.
Okay, Joe?
You got to get to the mic, please. Get to the mic, please. Thank you, Joe. Joe,
That was a lateral, that was like an old Notre Dame Army game, lateral from one to another.
Yes, and I'm going to do the same thing because some of my other colleagues were working on this matter for the eviction. So
we're
my
pursuing a way
suggestion
to-
is we can, as you see upcoming on the agenda, we have a couple of settlements. So because it would involve litigation, we can discuss it at our executive session on Monday.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my question is, I think if my recollection is correct, it was like $18,000. How did we let them get to
35.
that much and not do anything early? How did it get there?
That's a good question. A lot of good questions today. I know the finance department does bill on a regular basis. We do tend to keep track of these things. I think there was an awareness that this was building, and we were working through every appropriate channel to respect an employee in the dwelling unit, living there, without being too forceful, twisting an arm to collect, if that's not too tortured an explanation.
So in the new lease agreement, some verbiage was changed, correct?
So there is an awareness that I think our previous lease agreements, 5 years all, extraordinarily sub-market rent, left something to be desired. So this is a higher rental rate, still does reflect a discount below market. This is anticipated to be a 1-year lease agreement. And I think, frankly, everybody is keeping tabs on this property now.
Oh, yeah, they did change the year lease agreement. But was there any way that they could have added in that, being that it is a city employee, that is deducted directly from their pay in some fashion?
My first instinct would be concern that that could run afoul of the employees' collectively bargained rights. I have not looked closely at it, but that's my initial instinct.
So I think we'll go through this with legal on Monday in more detail. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did have one more question.
Absolutely.
Around this. I think is there one in Skinny Atlas?
We do,
in Skinny, how many other properties do we have in this type of situation?
I believe only two, counting this one, there'd be two encumbered by lease agreements. I think there is another property down in the southern part of the county or northern Cayuga County that's similarly situated. I don't think, I know there's no lease agreement in place there. I don't believe anybody's living there right now. But broadly speaking, I think it really serves us well, not just for water. Any city department that owns real property someplace, it pays to have eyes on the property. I know water in particular does suffer from vandalism at different sites. If we have somebody living there, this is a really, really good opportunity to protect our asset.
Years ago, we had people living in the city parks. That's right. Fraser Park, yeah, Schiller Park, Onondaga, yeah, so it's been done before, so.
The safest property is one that is not vacant, and we're looking to change that here.
So, okay, any other questions? Okay, 73, who's handling, Mr. Cleva.
Good afternoon, councilors. Frank Kaliva, the city's chief administrative officer. This is a relatively straightforward request for permission to enter into a no-cost agreement with the National League of Cities to provide us with some technical assistance. This is a project to start looking at the way that we issue bonds and the types of bonds that we issue, and look at them in terms of racial equity, and if we can issue them in a more accommodating manner for racial equity. We've done the same with procurement, as you'll recall, and gone through an extensive transformation of the way we do procurement and contracting pretty successfully, I think, and we now want to undertake the same kind of transformation in our bonding efforts.
Questions? No. Okay.
Thank you.
74, Dayforce. Anybody? Oh, we got Commissioner Canizero. Commissioner?
Good afternoon, Common Council. Mike Canizero, Commissioner of Finance. So item number 74 is to enter into a contract with Dayforce. So, most people have to file, a 1040 by April 15th. Like, that's you filing your income taxes. Obviously, we're a local government, so we're not filing an annual tax return. But there are still a number of tax filings that we're required to submit. Specifically, for payroll on a quarterly basis to the IRS, we submit, a Form 941. On a quarterly basis, we submit kind of the same form to New York State. That's a New York State Form 45. So Dayforce would prepare and file these returns on our behalf. Additionally, we have to submit to remit to employees W-2s on an annual basis. So that's, what you're going to take and be able to fill out your Form 1040. So W-2s would also be, printed by them. They would be digitizing them for us. And then with the anticipated, new employee self-service in the new payroll HR software, an employee will be able to click into your employee self-service, click on W-2, and you'd be able to see, oh, here's my W-2. Don't have to wait for it in the mail. Oh, I lost it. I can go to employee self-service. We reprint W-2s all the time for people. People are always losing their W-2s, whereas now it will be digitized. You can just go in there. It's not, we're reprinting something. It's just there. Go grab it whenever you'd like. This is a one-year contract, $20,000 setup cost, $13,000, $13,500 an annual recurring cost. That's a combination of monthly and annual fees. This would be filing these forms for the city and Syracuse Urban Renewal. It's an administrative task. It takes up time from payroll. I don't know if you've ever been on the phone with the IRS, but you're typically on hold for 5 to 6 hours and calling back the next day. So again, I think we're viewing this as, outside of the $20,000 one-time cost, a recurring, $13,000 cost. There are very specific deadlines for these that open us to liability if we don't meet these deadlines. So it's a, activity we're looking at outsourcing. Any questions?
Councilor Williams?
So they will print them and mail them?
Yep, you'll get a copy in the mail, but then also we're digitizing them, so,
So if you
I lost
you
it,
can
I can
find it
go
yourself.
in
Okay,
employee
that's
self-service
good.
and just,
That's good.
print out a copy, so it's a very, modern approach.
Councilor Williams, I'm sorry, I bled over into your.
Hijacking my items.
It's okay, I got a roll going and,
No, it's all good.
okay. So
It's all
you're-
good.
You're
I'll let you
back
go
in
with
charge.
it. Great. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
75, 76.
Hello, America Trier, Executive Director of the Downtown Committee of Syracuse, and we also manage the Krause-Marshall Business Improvement District. I have items 75 and 76, and earlier this year, we participated in the budget hearings to explain the programming we use, the special assessment funds for in both the Krause-Marshall District as well as the Downtown District. So these items are our agreement that we enter into every year to be able to draw down on those funds to be able to deliver those programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
And then item 77, 78, 79 will be discussed at executive session. Number 80.
Hello again, Council. Matt OJ, Commissioner of Assessment. We are requesting modifications to two assessment rolls, the 21-22 roll and the current 23-24 roll. A number of properties were assessed cut and clean charges for code-related violations. Those are coming off.
800K from the regional market.
Sorry, that's the 21-22. The Regional Market Authority purchased a warehouse property, I believe in the 21 calendar year, by operation of law, ought to be exempt. I believe did grieve our failure to remove that tax liable status the following year. Ultimately, I believe either the Board of Assessment Review found in their favor or we changed our position. Somehow that was not reflected in the billing status, so we owe them a refund and we have to change the role.
Anybody? Thank you,
Okay,
Councilor.
thank you, Councilor Williams.
That's all.
Councilor Jones-Rouser.
Counselor Hogan, thank you. I have items 81 through 106.
One is related to the annual allocation from our budget as approved in the budget to TNT for $150,000. As the letter describes, the breakdown is that there's $50,000 that goes towards the overall administration and then $100,000 that's divided among the different sectors for their various projects.
Questions?
We
All right.
all like TNT.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. Thanks.
So I have one question, Commissioner. So every sector will get $100,000?
No.
They would love that, Counselor. No, it's
I was hoping for
$100,000
that.
total to
Oh,
be
darn
divided
it.
among, yeah.
I thought we were
My
gonna-
apologies
we're gonna squeeze
to the
that
north
in.
side. Yep.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Sure.
Good afternoon, councilors. Michelle Sapansky, Deputy Commissioner of Neighborhood Development. I have items 82 through 85. Item number 82 is a request to amend the draft ordinance for our program year 50 entitlement funding from HUD. So this just memorializes kind of the final budget allocations that we get from them. The main changes from the budget that you had initially approved back in March included we got a bump of about $14,000 to our community development block grant. We are looking to put those funds directly into our distressed properties line. We took a little bit of a hit on our home partnership program budget of about 17%. So that affects kind of some of the funds that we have available to do new housing construction. So that's part of the rationale for why we're looking to put those 14,000 back into distressed properties. It is kind of, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what the cut was, unfortunately, but it's at least something. Emergency Solutions Grant is relatively comparable, down just a little bit, but in terms of impact to agencies, it's relatively minimal. And we, this year, were informed that we will not be receiving an allocation through the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, or HOPWA grant. That's due in part to the declining incidences that we have of AIDS within the city of Syracuse. Typically, what we had been doing with those funds was taking the allocation that we had, which was about $400,000, and administering it directly through New York State, just because they're able to leverage it a lot more at scale than we are here.
Michelle, not to interrupt you, I apologize. Where did you get the numbers for that, saying that the numbers of HIV is down in the city of Syracuse?
This was based on what HUD told us the reporting rates are. I think there's some coordination that happens between a bunch of different federal agencies, but essentially they release a list of the jurisdictions that are eligible or ineligible on an annual basis. So we were told this year that we are ineligible to receive our own allocation. But effectively, in terms of kind of the available resources, we had already been having New York State administer those funds for us, because there's a multiplying effect that they're able to use with them through the administration. So,
So HUD told you guys that we couldn't allocate the money because Syracuse numbers have went down as far as HIV, reported numbers.
Is it HIV or AIDS?
Or AIDS.
Yes.
It's AIDS, not
AIDS.
HIV.
Yeah.
I can confirm exactly if both are included, but largely I know for sure AIDS.
Okay.
So, but it's not.
So I was just able to look up some communication that we had from HUD from it. So it's HIV and AIDS. It needs to be 2,000 in the community, and right now the federal government has us at 1,201 cases. So that's, we're fortunately significantly below. The important thing to recognize, as Deputy Commissioner mentioned earlier, we have always sent our HOPWA funds directly to the state, because they've been able to leverage it and turn that into even more money and administer it back here. The money that we would have received now gets sent directly to the state. They have a pool for communities such as ours that are under the threshold. And so the programming that's been supported by it will continue to be supported by it through New York State, with these funds backing it in the way that they always have. So from a programming standpoint and from a end user standpoint of that programming, our understanding is that there is no change to it.
Places like ACR, that's where they tap into the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
Commissioner, was that number the people infected in 1 year, the 1,200, or is it the whole total?
Our understanding of the way that HUD has communicated it is that that is the total of cases, current cases within the community.
Okay. Have they looked at each year to see if this is going? Because we could say this, but the year, it could, you know what I mean?
I expect that they could and that they do. We don't have that information. What we know is that we are, although we'd love to have the money, in the end, we always turn it over to the state anyways, because they then basically come back with a heck of a lot more since they're able to use it as leverage, as Deputy Commissioner mentioned. The other is for the 1,201 people that are dealing with it. That's a, it affects their life. How wonderful that we are in a community that right now has got that we're so far below the threshold compared to other communities.
So is the ACR the only one that tap into this fund, or the other organizations?
No, I believe there's a couple other organizations as well. Since those are administered through the state, we don't have those direct contracts with those agencies. Though.
So who provides the numbers?
We reached out to our HUD field office, and they were the ones that responded back with us. Yeah. So the coordination with New York State Department of Health and all of that, we get it distilled at the end.
Do area hospitals inform you of anything, if there's HIV hospitalizations or no?
They would communicate that with the state and the federal government, I believe, but certainly also with county health department. So, but those numbers don't come to us.
Any other questions on 82?
I do have a question. The agencies that were in the pipeline to be paid for the last contract, are we all done with that?
Correct, yes.
Oh,
All agencies that have submitted expenses to us.
of course.
Okay. Moving on to item number 83. This is a request to amend an ordinance that previously authorized funding for home headquarters to build 40 single-family homes through the AHOP program. We're looking to just add one additional property to the list of allowable properties that they can pull from for those funds, 209 Ontario Street. These are a set of, this is one of 5 properties over on the Otisco, Ontario intersection area that were built super energy efficiently, but just with kind of total development costs, there's a lot of expenses there are a little bit higher, so we want to offset some costs there to keep the property affordable for the home buyer. All right, any questions with that? Items number 84 and 85 are companion pieces. We are looking for a request to enter into an agreement with Center for Justice Innovation to continue the services that they've been providing us with regard to administration of the Community Ambassador Program. It's a program that we've had in place now since 2020 or so. Since we launched the initial pilot, it grew out of a lot of grant-funded work that we did through New York State, aimed at designing opportunities to kind of increase the efficiency and equity related to code enforcement-related operations. So the community ambassadors have been a great support for us, both in terms of making sure that residents who have housing issues that might need some help with some of the systems navigation related work, that they're referring those cases to us, helping residents kind of through that process as they need to. And in turn, they're also taking referrals directly from the city in instances kind of where we use them quite a bit for cases where we have a rental property where the owner hasn't consented to inspection. They'll do additional layers of outreach to confirm with the residents and see if there's any problems going on in the properties. So we see the program as being a really big asset that kind of complements the scope of services that we have within code enforcement. And so we're looking to continue that work for the upcoming, through the end of this fiscal year.
So, Michelle, this item I'm definitely going to hold, 84 and 85. I would probably like to see a RFP to see if there's any other organizations that can also do this work, but I also want to hold a committee meeting to get some numbers on what this organization has done thus far and what the impact has come out of what the work that they've done.
Okay, happy to get that scheduled.
Are you gonna decide whether you're gonna request the RFP to be done after the committee meeting, or are you suggesting it now?
Probably after RFP. I'll know by Monday. I mean, probably after committee meeting, but I'll know by Monday for sure.
I know this group has been particularly effective on the near west side. They know the lay of the land down there too, so I would say that I would hope the meeting would be to discuss their fate here would be soon. Neighborhood meeting.
I can also vouch for them. Councilor Rouser, I do respect the RFP process because it needs to be fair and equitable, but this group is amazing. They really are outside making some changes for community, especially with some of the residents in the poor housing, like those big units they were in. They really made a change, was up there pushing.
And Kelly Gonzalez and Leah Russell from CJI are here today as well if there's any specific questions you got today, but we're certainly happy to get the committee meeting scheduled. All right, thank you.
Hi, councilors. Items 86 and 87 are related to the Financial Empowerment Center. So we've had annual contracts with home headquarters to be able to operate this. As a reminder, Financial Empowerment Center is available to any resident of the city of Syracuse for free for financial counseling that is unrelated to any financial product. So it's not tied to banks or anything else. I've gone through the program myself. It's really for anybody that's in the community. The whole idea is what they do is meet with you, say, what are your goals? Help map out where you're at, kind of hold up a mirror of your situation and say, all right, let's figure out how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And so we've seen significant amounts of increased savings, we know that people that have very little savings, that just several $100s can prevent financial emergencies. We've seen significant increases in credit scores, but thousands of people gone through the program. Within the city budget, there was allocated $175,000 towards the program. Total program cost is a little over $360,000. So companion pieces here are to be able to allocate some ARPA funds to round out the total cost of the contract, and then to enter into contract with home headquarters to continue the administration of the program. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Jen Tiff, Director of Strategic Initiatives. Items number 88 and 89 have been reintroduced back on the agenda with a couple of changes as requested by Councilor Jones-Rouser and the rest of you. Again, this is 88 is to amend an appropriation of ARPA funds for the community broadband program to include an additional 1.4 million. The first 900 of which 900,000 of which will be authorized for us to spend immediately. This relates to our municipal infrastructure grant from the state of New York. And then we'll come back to council to authorize the remaining 500K of that funding. And then 89 is the companion piece. This is the amendment with Community Broadband Networks, which is our ISP partner that we've been working with to deploy broadband in the pilot area thus far. This amendment would include the state grant award, which is $10.8 million, plus the city's local share. Any questions on this structure?
So we're just approving right now just for them to grant for the state, right?
No, we're approving the funding, but it is going to be in phases. So the state funding, I think we already approved that.
Yeah, you already approved
We already
that.
approved that. And then this part, we are approving the 1.4 to move forward with it being distributed in two halves, based on them getting more subscribers.
Yep.
And can you just give a quick update as to from when the other programs ended, May to now?
The ACP.
Yeah, have you gotten a significant amount of subscribers in the last 2 months?
So I think we've still seen a relatively modest increase. We've actually, we've had a little bit of a challenge on the technical side of things, getting into some of the SHA properties in particular. So we've been working through that issue with SHA. That's actually been, something that's just been slowing us down in terms of our ability to get into the facilities and hook people's apartments up. So we're going to continue to work through some of those issues, obviously, with folks like SHA and other property owners.
What is the issue with getting in? Is it because you're going through brick? What's going on? But this is not wired to home.
No, so I think it's just a coordination issue, frankly, with property managers who need to give the contractors access to the facilities. And so we're working through a new process with them, frankly, just around how to get connected with those property managers so that they can turn over keys and sign out keys and all of those things, which,
Property managers, or are you talking about tenants?
Is it for like high rises?
Yeah,
You talking
It's
about?
for a number of the different properties. But yeah, I understand each of the SHA facilities has its own, kind of facility manager, the person who's responsible for maintenance and other site issues. And those folks have the keys. And ultimately, when there's an issue, that requires access to the building's mechanical room, for example, they need a property manager on site who can provide that access.
But would they need to go? I thought those units are going right into their apartment.
So some of it goes right into the apartment, but there is a component piece that's required on the outside of every building. So when there's the first subscriber in one particular building, wants to sign up, the building itself needs to have a small radio basically attached to the outside of the building, usually on a wall, not really the roof, but an external surface.
How many tenants would that support? How many people?
Well, as many
That's
as
small.
many tenants as are in the building. So once the building is connected, then all the tenants in that building, frankly, could sign up, and that just requires access to the tenant's unit. So there's a little bit of complication. I don't think this is going to continue to be an issue long term. We're obviously taking it as it comes and making sure that each of the buildings where we need to do the work, we have the right
Who's
contacts.
your contact at this?
We're working directly with the SHA facilities team, which is led by Melissa LaCory.
Melissa.
The other thing is, have we put an agreement yet with broadband that after 3 years, this isn't going up? Like, what is the cap price on that?
Yeah, so we obviously still need to amend our existing agreement. That's what one of these items would be for. With the state of New York, we have to agree to maintain this infrastructure for a minimum of 10 years. That's based on the requirements for the state funding. So those requirements also would include, maintaining the price structure that we had proposed. That piece obviously extends to our current contractor for the life of the program with them. One of the things we will want to talk with you all about at some point in the next year or two is the process to recompete the RFP with the service provider. So obviously the city is going to have an agreement now with New York State as it relates to the expansion of our broadband program. Like I said, that's going to tie us to certain things for 10 years. But our contract with our ISP provider ends in 2026. So we'll need to talk with you all about what the process is.
So we don't have a cap yet.
No, so we haven't capped it because the agreement with them is going to run much shorter than that. So we'll need to talk with you all about what we want to do when we go to recompete it, how long of a contract we want, and how we want to hold ultimately the providers accountable for the program. So
how much is it right now?
So right now, our income qualified program is $10 a month. The proposal to New York State for the expansion program is, I think, $14.95 a month. So we are anticipating an increase just so that we can consistently offer the same price everywhere in the city when those new units come on board. So
to 2026.
Right, to 2026.
But then after that, we don't have anything capped. So
we don't have anything in writing, but I think our intent, and when we were working on the pricing structure for this, is that we would look to do that into perpetuity, basically. So we believe that as long as we have the ratios of subscribers at the market rate, we'll be able to subsidize, certainly for the next 10 years, if not longer, at the $14.95 rate. The goal is definitely to just make that a very long-term arrangement.
Counselor, I was wondering, did you want a committee meeting on this? Or
We had a committee meeting.
we want another one?
Not yet.
Okay,
Not yet.
okay.
I wanted.
Because there seems to be still a lot of questions here.
I think that, I don't mean to butt in, okay? Respectfully, could I just?
No, go on.
Yeah. I just don't think that we need another committee meeting on it, mainly because part of the legislation is that they come back to the council with updates and everything, you know, and the 900 is focused towards the equipment, you know, that this
Right.
the others.
Seems like it's all logistical support that the questions
so a
regard.
committee meeting, it would be repetitive, you know, so, yeah, just don't put me through that. No, I'm just joking.
But
So I'm just, you know, it seems like, I had hair when this study session started, so, I mean, so I was just wondering if, you know.
But Jen, I did want to get you to send me some information on how you are reaching individuals, because I had got a couple of calls, and one person I was able to get them information, but I think that they called City Line.
Okay.
City Line knew nothing.
Okay.
One person from City Line told someone to call 211
Okay.
or whatever that is.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, and so I was able to give that one individual the information, but the other one I didn't have. They had already contacted me, and I didn't have the number saved. So
Yeah.
people who don't know exactly what it's called, and they're saying like it's the city's Wi-Fi program, so
Right.
they called the city. The city isn't giving them correct information.
Okay. No, that's good to know. We'll make sure City Line has the flyers. We have flyers in English and Spanish right now. We'll be expanding that as we expand to the north side, obviously, and other parts of the city. So we'll make sure everyone has that information, but I appreciate that. And we're working closely with Ruthnie and her team to offer some additional support around marketing and promotion to really get the word out, to your point. But I think we have a lot more work to do on that regard. So we look forward to actually working with all of you on that, especially as we expand to other parts of the city. We're really gonna, look to you all to help us get the word out to all of
Well,
your
I think
constituents.
I think as many organizations do, a lot of people table at events.
Yeah.
So the people that you're looking to target, you need to look for events that are going on within their communities.
Yep.
Whether it's outdoor events or, events that's happening at schools, churches, or centers.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
And I think our school district should be a main platform
Yeah,
for you guys.
absolutely.
Because they have
Absolutely.
they know what
Right.
kids are receiving what and who doesn't have the Wi-Fi, based on that. So they should be a major connection.
I would like to encourage this, but I'm also concerned about people who are renting homes or apartment complexes owned by LLCs and the property managers. I'm just concerned that there might be a pushback and say, oh, well, we can do something better than you. And that's what I'm concerned about.
We're happy to
pushbacks.
chat with any of you that have questions, but Counselor, happy to give you some pointers on how to talk to property owners about that.
Okay,
If folks
and
have questions.
LLCs out of state.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone.
Tiff, I will follow up with Melissa upon,
Okay.
any hold up on what you need to get done there.
Yeah, I think it's
She's new,
fine.
so it might be a transition that's going on.
Yeah, they're actually working through some process just to get some of their internal policies updated, which I think will help with this. So yeah, we're working through it. Thank you, though.
Okay.
90.
Second break is over with.
So these funds were approved as part of this current fiscal year. So item number 90 is entering into an agreement with the Downtown Syracuse Foundation to administer the grant funds. Councilors Caldwell, Paniagua, and Monto have served on our review committee, but once we have the funds under contract, we will be releasing an RFP out to the community to call for festivals and events eligible for funding. We set up a review committee comprised of Common Council members, City of Syracuse, CNY Arts, at times Visit Syracuse, and also the Downtown Syracuse Foundation, which then reviews and ranks the different festivals that come in based on a set of criteria. Then we allocate those funds, we enter into contracts, we handle a reimbursement process. This past fiscal year, which was the same amount of funding that had been allocated as this current fiscal year, we were able to support 22 festivals awarded through 2 different rounds of funding spread throughout the city of Syracuse.
America, I thank you. I appreciate it. I wish we can I'm talking to other people that I wish we can help support you more and with this, with the arts culture, because some of the smaller organizations being able to put it on really, really helps the community. I love to see that there was stuff going on every weekend throughout the whole city with different festivals. So thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Can I ask why? Well, you guys are on the committee, so maybe either somebody can answer, but if it's for the July through June, why is it just coming before, like, has the application been open?
Not yet. So how we structured it, yep, so this $150,000 is new as of July 1st. So our intent would be to release an RFP for these funds probably the first week of August. Last year's funds, we did a similar timeline. So we, last year, $150,000 had been allocated. 22 festivals were awarded. So some of those are underway now, and those will happen really through the end of this year. And so it's funding, allocating events that happen now through next year.
All right.
Yep.
I just want to thank you for the hard work, because a lot of these little festivals, without this money, wouldn't be able to do it. And what Councilor Caldwell said, this is not just downtown, they're all over the city. So thank you for the hard work.
Yeah. Thank you for allocating the funds.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, councilors. Kimon Jordan, Neighborhood and Business Development. So we have 15 properties for you all today, a few of which will be withdrawn. So starting at the top, items 91 and 92 will be withdrawn. These two items were held from the last vote. The owner has applied for a tax trust with the city. That application was approved on July 2nd. All right, moving forward, we would like to move item number 93 forward. That owner unfortunately passed away in 2019. Item number 94, we would like to withdraw. So the property owner has actually applied for a tax trust as of July 11th this month. Items 95 through 100 are vacant properties, or vacant lots, sorry. So we'd like to continue moving those forward. Item 101, we would actually like to hold. So the property owner has applied for a tax trust. Their application was submitted on May 6th. So it's been a while. They haven't had any contact with the city or the finance department on how they would like to move forward. So we'd like to hold that one.
You said what was that?
Item 101, property at 148
yes,
Nelson.
okay.
We'd like to hold.
I got that.
All right, 102 is good to continue moving forward. We haven't had any successful contact with the owner. Item 103, we would like to withdraw for the time being. And items 104, 105, and 106 are ready to move forward. And just to highlight, for item 104, the renter at 303 Marguerite Ave has been working with Cooperative Federal to get pre-approved for a mortgage, so they are looking to purchase the property.
For 303 Marguerite?
Yes.
Okay.
303 Marguerite, item 104.
So you're withdrawing this one?
No, move it forward. So they will work with the land bank to purchase the property after the foreclosure is complete.
Okay, yes, that's what okay, yeah, all right. So I did, okay. All right, so I want to go back to 93. If we could just hold that one, or I can do a little additional outreach, see if there's any family members that's there or not. I'm not 100% sure. I thought that I already spoke with somebody at this property, but I have to look back at the address for sure. And 105, Councilor Caldwell would like to hold that for additional outreach.
Yes.
Did you say 10? Okay, and Councilor Monto wants to hold 106 for now, so.
Okay, so 105 and 106 are vacant properties. We would like to hold those still.
105 is actually not vacant. I did some outreach there. She wants to do some additional outreach. I spoke with someone who was living there. And but they refused to give me any information, so.
Right, so we can definitely get that changed in our code enforcement system.
Yeah, because it's not vacant.
Well, they could possibly be squatting. From the conversation I had, it could be a squatter.
Okay.
I didn't think it was, though.
Yeah, that's something we can flag for the code enforcement department. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, counselors.
Thanks, Camone.
Thank you.
I'm asking Corey to come up. I hate to do this to everybody, but we did have some sort of resolution. We all met, and I think we'll present it through the city clerk as far as a waiver goes. $75 a card, no reoccurring revenue. You didn't let me know that the city does replace carts that are stolen or misplaced or whatever, who want to misplace it. And you can, we're going to let you buy the recycling carts, but you got to come back to us and brief us and have a committee meeting regarding the rollout.
And one other piece of legislation, the outreach.
Yes.
Okay with the, just,
Education outreach.
it's not gonna, they gotta wait till all that come through, but Corey, you can talk on it.
Yeah, so it's my understanding there are three pieces of legislation. The legislation for the second cart, the legislation to purchase the actual recycling carts, and then the legislation for public outreach and education that will be on the agenda for Monday by waiver.
Right, okay? So why you got the frown? Because we don't want
I'm just, I've been here since 10 o'clock, so I'm just hungry. It's all coming in.
We starving.
No, I have no questions. We're all
Trying to
set.
bring it home.
It won't be nothing now,
Corey,
No, I'm just listening.
Corey, before you go,
You're okay?
where can I get those
Motion to
bulk
adjourn.
set out cards?
Wait, she's still talking.
It's separate. I could ask later, but I just want to know where to get those bulk set out cards.
Bulk set out cards.
Yes. I was just thinking out loud in my head. That's all. Hey, you know what we gotta do though?